What's up, everybody? It's Steve Braconi with Team Braconi. I have my faithful manager, Alfredo Vastola, with me today. Super excited for today. We're going to talk a little bit about perseverance, specifically within the real estate industry for agents, kind of what I've seen make the difference between that path to success and kind of fizzling out a little bit or a lot of it. And Alfredo's going to help us with some key questions and comments on market update.
Yes, sir. Well, the perseverance could also be for the buyers as well. So it's going to be dual purpose. It's going to be just persevering this wild and crazy market that we're currently in.
It's true.
Which is what we'll touch up on initially. I think a lot of people get mixed up, but we've touched on this in previous podcasts. But a lot of people get, they read or see a headline, and that's typically a national, or it could even be your local state. But the markets are very tricky right now, and you really have to know and understand your particular local market, or the market that you're looking to purchase in as a buyer. Typically we've never seen rates go from 2 or 3 all the way up to 6 or 7 in that short period of time. But in a normalized market, that would spike or result in a pretty dramatic decline in prices in multiple markets. In the top metro markets, that has not been the case, and we can kind of touch upon maybe some reasons why that is, and try to forecast why some of these indicators that are still keeping the prices stagnant or elevated in some markets, if that's going to change possibly, although we don't have a crystal ball. If we did, maybe I'd be doing.
I think there's multiple layers to that. First off, we've spoke about this many times, but the first factor in that is geographically where we're talking about, as far even within states. So states are specific and they're going to be very different, but even within states, yes, that's also different. And we see even within New Jersey, there's communities that are extremely strong, arguably stronger than last year. Mm-hmm. Crazy.
Yeah.
And others that have softened a little bit. So it is very specific, but also price points. When you're talking above 2 million now, especially above $3 million purchase or sales, that has softened significantly.
Yes.
In our experience. 1 million to 2 million is relatively strong still, depending on the geographic location and of course the home and how well it's priced. But below $1 million, really, especially below 800,000, is extremely strong. And you and I are fielding calls, emails, and texts from our agents daily on, hey, there's 8. I got one last night. There's 8 offers on this property.
Yep.
Where should we go?
Yeah. I just put in an offer for a place that, is below 6. It got 10. Well, the agent said, I think it's 10. So it's probably more than that. It's incredible. It's just still a great demand for, homes in that price range. And there's certain things that are keeping that market pretty elevated. And it's number one is a lack of inventory. There's a huge, I think this is the second lowest inventory historically. I think last year was the lowest.
I just met with the vice president of Christie's International Real Estate in Northern New Jersey yesterday. And she was saying typically in Franklin Lakes, where I reside, and one of our offices is out of, there's give or take 80 to 100, maybe a little bit more listings in town at any given time.
Yep.
And now there's closer to 20.
Exactly.
So
that's yeah.
So it is. I don't think it's one of the factors. I think it's the largest factor. If it's supply and demand. If the supply is so low and there's still relatively strong demand, it's going to keep prices continuously increasing. And we'll see what happens with the rate. I do still believe over time it should creep up. That's what I think is going to happen. I might be wrong, but I'm going to go on record saying that's what I believe is going to happen. But if they do it slow, if they being the feds do it slowly enough, I think that there's such a lack of inventory, it's going to take quite some time to catch up.
Yeah.
And it's going to, there's people, when you have 10, 12, 20 offers on a property, which is what we're seeing again, I'm surprised, quite honestly. But you have 19 people in that scenario, or whatever the number. that didn't get the property. So guess what happens when something similar lists?
The price is higher, and there's the same amount of people back on the next property.
Right. So we have to balance that. And now, typically, those buyers are more driven.
Yep.
They may listen to their agent a little bit closer, maybe take some direction a little bit more to heart, come up a little bit stronger, make their terms stronger. Right. So, but that's the mass. So, and that's assuming that there weren't more buyers that came to the market since the last round.
100%.
So that's kind of what we're running into right now.
Yeah. And then that's kind of what I was touching on. It's like, purchase applications are down. That's because there's less homes for people to put an application in on. So it doesn't mean that prices are going down. It's just that, you have to look at all the data, and we're seeing some pretty crazy data right now, because this is also coupled in with inflation. It's hard to read just based on some of the headlines that we're seeing. As that's kind of the point that I want to get across is you have to talk to your agent, because they have the pulse of that particular market. If you're just reading the news and mostly it's national or even, like I said, state, and then you go to make an offer on a property, well, that house had 10 offers, right? So you have to know what's going on in the market.
Yeah, and there's typically, in any market, despite conditions, there's things that attract buyers. For instance, in suburbs, it's going to be space, typically property taxes, if they can get something that might be a little bit more affordable as far as taxes being a little lower, and of course, school systems, proximity to transportation and city commute, if that's what they're considering. So those things are always going to drive stuff up. But what we're seeing is even the towns that don't offer maybe all of those things, buyers are filtering or going towards those towns because they're not having any luck in.
Which is great. It improves those towns as well, I think.
100%.
So not all terrible things, and I just looked it up. So it is the second lowest inventory that we've had. It's pretty crazy. So that's going to drive up a lot of prices. So just have to kind of pay a little closer attention to get a better feel of the market.
The risk of holding off is one that you're likely going to pay a higher interest rate. Theoretically, if you pay a higher interest rate, you should pay less purchase price.
Yeah.
So again, we've talked about this before, but it's going to depend on your mathematical formula as far as what you're putting down and how much you're leveraging with finance. That may or may not make sense for you. If the interest rates go up to 10%, but someone's paying cash for a property and they can get it for less, in which they would, theoretically, that's going to be a very good deal. But if someone's doing a VA loan or one of the doctor loans at 100%, or they're doing FHA at 3.5% down, that is going to dramatically increase their costs monthly. Even if the purchase price goes down, they could oftentimes be paying more over the course of that loan for the home than they would otherwise with a higher purchase price.
Yeah, and that's actually another thing that's been keeping some of the markets very active still, is the absentee owners are up. So now you have investors or secondary home market driving the prices and bumping out, and a lot of those are cash too. So it's all leading towards still having a hard time in some markets for buyers, where they're looking at things around them and thinking that wouldn't be the case. And it I say unfortunately, because it is frustrating. We don't like to disappoint our clients. We want them to find a house they like and get them in that home. And it's just it's that process. It's still the same process that we were going through during the pandemic.
And segueing into the agent side, what I've seen a lot, and I've gotten people that contacted me off our team that I'm friendly with that are in the industry, people getting very frustrated, people being agents and brokers, because they not only can't find the right property for the client, there's just less transactions overall.
Yeah.
So we've talked about this in the past, but I do see the market shifting significantly to assisting agents that are either willing to join a team or are currently with a team that offers structure, that offers appointments or a lead generation system, that offers back office support, marketing, and taking all of those responsibilities off the agent, because then you become much more efficient in your closings.
Yeah.
So there's a cost of a closing for an agent in the sense that you have to put X amount of hours into a file with marketing efforts, with showing the properties, with spending the time to build the relationships. And that's all well invested. But how much investment do you need on average to close a file? And that just is dependent on a number of things. The agent's efficiency, their experience and their sphere, and market conditions. It obviously would depend also on the client's expectations, and some clients are ready to buy right away. They see 3 homes and they know that's what I want, and I'm good to go. And other clients, just even if that's what they wanted, they may not have known at the time, and that's fine. They'll continue to look, and then they circle back to, what, that was really what I'm looking for, and I just wasn't ready at that time. So It's timing. But I think that the team situation and scenario is going to significantly help these agents to not become frustrated and ultimately either leave the business or acquire other work, get part-time jobs, get other full-time jobs, which is what we've seen. And I forecasted that. I said, as this market continues to shift and there's less transactions, which is what we're seeing.
Yeah.
The agents that either aren't producing at a high level or producing at all are going to either join a successful team and try that avenue, or leave the industry altogether.
Yeah, it's extremely tough, because everything you said is 100% accurate. And you mentioned investment, and I think you were probably talking about time investment, but it's also financial. You have tools, and that's so if your transactions go down, and even when you're working with a buyer and there's less inventory, it's you want to reach out to them. We talk about follow up all the time. You reach out to them, but and typically that follow up is, hey, there's a new home on the market. And that's not happening as much. So you have to do more to follow up, give them a market update, and just keep in touch with them. But the other financial investment is these tools that cost money. Those are typically 12-month.
Oh, it's technology too.
It's 12
Besides
months.
The gas money.
Yeah,
it's technology.
Well, I mean the technology. Yeah, the gas money too. But it's if you want to have a dedicated website, so people know you're. I mean, nowadays you have to. So that's a 12-month expense. If you want a CRM, that's a 12-month expense. Most of these companies are not giving you a month-to-month, trial.
No, and we've seen it with the agents that join our team that have come from a different situation, where they've actually either incurred those costs or decided that, I don't have the budget at this time to take on those costs. They're the ones that appreciate it most. What I am seeing too much of, in my opinion, is we try to, us on the team, and when I have other people contact me that I either as a friend or someone that I know that may not even be affiliated with my team, I try to explain to them that this is a marathon in the sense of the career choice of real estate. Even if you sell a home, we've talked about this, in the first 90 days of getting in the business or something like that, it might be a 60 to 90 day close anyway. So you're talking 6 months before you even get paid.
Yeah.
But what we do see, even on the team, is agents come on board. We get them up to speed. We get them to understand software. We get them to understand the multiple listing service. We get them to understand how to interact properly with the client, what the expectations are. We give them the contacts, attorney, home inspector. We give them the tools they need, right? Is what I'm getting at. And then typically 6 months to 9 months, from what I've seen, they become successful to a degree. They maybe get 2 deals, 3 deals, 4 deals, a handful of deals, most likely. And then it's either one of two things that happen. Either they let their foot off the gas because they got comfortable, is what I'm seeing, or they take the systems we put in place for granted and don't put the effort in, even though they continue to work to a degree. So then one of two things happens. Either they become frustrated and leave, which we've seen, the business, or we say that you're not producing. It's no longer going to be a good fit. So then they'll either get a part-time job and try to make it work, which we know what happens there. It's just not going to happen. Or they get a full-time job and either try to say, hey, I'm coming back to real estate. That's a very difficult process as well, because you remove yourself. So again, going back to, it's a marathon, and you have to understand that it's going to take time And that might be 6 months before you make anything, but really a couple of years before you have generated enough consistent volume to be comfortable.
Yeah.
Because it's very uncomfortable with those waves at first. And even at my volume and having as many agents as I have where, I'm getting checks on a consistent basis, there's still waves. You've seen it this year.
Yeah, because the expenses are greater than they were when there's 5 people on the team. Now there's, 3 times that. So
you're making investments. And so you have to see that return on investment. You have to see consistency. And there's a lot of averages as you grow with the team that someone maybe is producing at certain time and then another agent might be producing. But if every agent can try to fire on all cylinders, or at least do the best they can to push through those moments that they feel like they're stalling out, that's a huge piece. And that's what I wanted to talk about a little today, was the perseverance.
Mm-hmm.
I saw that with you. I see that with Jeff, who's on our team. I see that with many people on our team. I don't need to name everyone. But then there's other agents who are honestly excellent with the skill set, the personality. They have a lot of the attributes I think is necessary to become successful in real estate. The difference is they fail to continue at that pace, where the analogy would be they started sprinting instead of pacing themselves, and then they're so burnt out or out of gas that they just fizzle.
Yeah.
And I think that's a shame, because if you did all of that groundwork to build your business just to say, you know what, I have to take a part-time job now, that either the money was mismanaged. You can't spend. I lived well below my means. I still do. But even when my income was significantly less, I always spent less than I would make so that I would be comfortable and I'd have some sort of savings.
Well, less than what your earnings could, afford.
Yeah.
I mean, you're just,
I would almost assume the worst because, again, I talked about this before, but I was afraid to fail. And the way that you fail most likely is you run out of money.
Yeah.
You can't continue to do the same thing because you just can't afford to. You have to have rent, you have to eat. So I'm seeing that, but the unfortunate thing, I guess what I'm saying is, I think a lot of it is a mental attitude of persevering through and continuing to push through, especially because we've seen several people, even within the team, that produced at a good level very early on in their career and made a change either out of the industry or thought they could kind of do this on themselves without the systems in place. And it ultimately led to the demise of their career.
And sometimes we hear from other vendors that they're still in contact with that they're not really happy with that decision.
Right. So, and we wish everyone the best.
Yeah.
But it's like, if you put someone on the path to success, well, why veer? And that's what I wanted to kind of touch on. Whereas other people seem to persevere through the difficult times and continue to push themselves when it's not easy. Because I always tell the agents, don't let the highs get you too high. I've told you that. And don't let the lows get you too low.
Yeah.
Kind of try to figure out in the middle. Like, if you have a great month, great, but move on. That's yesterday. Continue to push on. Because if you take that award too much in your head, for example, I'm going to an award ceremony a week from tomorrow, and you don't
go to those.
No, Christy sent me the ticket and said, "You're going. We never heard from you. You're going." And I promised them I'd do a little bit more of this stuff. But to me, that's 2022, right? We're in 2023, and we have a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
So I'm not so interested in attending an award ceremony from previous
that's true.
accolades. It's done. And quite honestly, for me to get the award when it's the entire team that's involved, it doesn't, it's great, but we've already done that. I want to kind of push forward.
And we have to. It's a difficult year. It's as we mentioned in the first segment, it's a lot of challenges that we have to navigate, and it segued perfectly into what you were saying and the perseverance. And what are some good tips that obviously we talk to our team members, but for everyone else, what are some good tips? Obviously it's discipline, doing the same thing, even if it's it's not working that week, it's going to work over a period of months.
Well, you see, even I think it was yesterday and today, I'll text the group, our team group, and yesterday I was literally sending out letters. I don't need to do that anymore. I've built a system that maybe you could consider that unnecessary. I felt as though I would get some benefit from that. I had a little bit extra time. I wanted to do that. So I started sending out, handwritten letters to past clients and a sphere of a home that I sold around that area. But to answer your question directly, I think it's putting one foot in front of the other each day and getting something accomplished. So when you go to bed, I ask myself, what did I do today and what could I have done more? And where do I want to focus my time? Was today a productive day? Not every day do I answer yes, but I try to at least hold myself accountable so that tomorrow when I get up, I can put some work in and do something, because it's the same analogy we used with fitness. And that's taught me a lot.
Which is the last podcast with Dante.
Well, that was jujitsu. Similar to fitness. When I say fitness, I'm referring to the gym. Anyone that goes to the gym, and I've talked about this, knows that if you work out this morning, you're not going to see results tonight or tomorrow. But you have to believe that by doing that process over the course of weeks, months, years, and really a lifetime, there's going to be benefits cosmetically and with your health. If you believe that and you continue to do that, you'll see results. You're not going to continue to work out and see nothing, but nothing is immediate.
Right.
And that's same with real estate. You can make phone calls and send letters. The likelihood, as you know, of getting a phone call and saying, "Hey, great, I want you to sell my home too." Oh, me too. It's just not going to happen. But as you build brand recognition and continue to put work in, there's a percent that will come back to you.
Yeah. Actually, the gym is more so that than, because you can actually get lucky. But luck is just happening once. In real estate, you couldn't get one phone call and make a deal right away. That doesn't really, you don't go to the gym and you do one workout and your muscles pop out. But the gym really can teach you that discipline, that you have to do it consistently.
But what percent of people can do that? What percent of people can get up in the morning and go work out and eat right? And assuming that person wants results, what person would continue to do that versus how many people start that as a New Year's resolution and in January, February, March say, you know what, I'm not really seeing what I hope to see. This is not worth it. It's not worth that effort. Most people, in my experience, don't see the long-term benefits or enough so to put that effort in consistently. And it's very similar to real estate, where I can tell someone what I did to go from zero to a top earner in the country. But for me to say that and actually have someone put those type of hours in and those sacrifices in, it's much easier said than done. Just like being consistent with anything in life.
Yeah. Yeah. Because it's not fun to sit down and write letters.
No. No. And it's also not fun to call people when you're exhausted at night. It's not fun to design things. Even now we have a marketing team that works with me, right? For us. I used to do that myself, but you still have to proof everything, you're helping me with it. And it's exhausting.
Yeah. It is.
And that's when you're done with everything for the day. But if you want to keep pace, grow, and advance, that's what's necessary, but it's persistence.
So it's just discipline and persistence. So that's basically what we preach on a daily basis. And that could be, making the phone calls, which is tough, right? That's why I wanted to touch up on this. It's like when the market is difficult and, you need, your transactions are off from last year because it's just a different market. Doing those daily tasks, it seems like useless, but those are the only things that are going to get you the long-term growth that'll sustain your business over time. Because over time it will be, I get phone calls, all the time from past clients right now. And it's like, that's what's sustaining my business is, hey, we did a deal 3 years ago, on a more friendly, friendly circumstances, we keep in touch. But it's just a repeat of clients, and that was built over time.
Yeah, we're starting to do seminars for agents.
Yes,
because we've gotten a lot of questions within our team, and we do within internal team ones, but also externally. So we're offering these seminars for free to agents. So if any agents have interest, they can contact us.
Yeah. In fact, we probably will end up at some point putting in links in our description section.
Okay. So we're doing that, and I could answer the questions more directly in that type of setting. We don't have an hour to go over just the skeleton outline. But there's specific rules that we've put in place for our agents as they begin the process of either growing their real estate career or starting their real estate career on like a foundation. And here's the things you need to do on a daily basis. Here's the thing you need to do on a weekly basis. Here's the things you need to do on a monthly basis. And there's expectations, not only, simple things like showings and open houses, but how many clients do you need to meet and that sort of thing, but how much time you have to put in, how much time you have to do spending on your follow-up calls and all that. So we will offer that service to, the New Jersey agents that want to join us, and we'll share kind of what's worked for us, and we're happy to hear their feedback as well. But we're starting to offer those seminars.
Yeah, that's going to be exciting. It's always good to bring people in and who want to learn and kind of see, put together a strategy for them that's going to work.
Yeah, in the likelihood of us doing this, and if 20 people attend or whatever the number, if we can get 2 or 3 of those agents who actually take the information and apply it, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That you're going to see those numbers grow. Most people in any seminar, right, they'll listen to it, they'll maybe take some notes, but how many of those people, going back to the point, actually apply that on a consistent basis and be persistent enough through the next weeks, months, years to actually implement that.
Everything we do is statistical, right? So it's just that's just like make 100 calls. You're not going to get 100 appointments. You might get 2, but you're doing those 100 calls.
You might get 0. You might get, but there's a law of averages.
And there's a law of averages. Exactly.
So,
and then you also have a charity event coming up pretty soon.
I've always given to certain charities, and we're opening it up to our team with some of the agents have specific interests of giving back to certain communities or demographics, but children and animals have always been my thing. So I do volunteer a lot with the kids, but this specific event coming up would be for the animals. I've been with the Bergen County Society for Prevention of Cruelty to Animals, the SPCA, I think for 15 years. So we're going to be doing some type of food drive. We're trying to still figure out the location, but it will be within Bergen County.
Mm-hmm. And
we're coming up with a date. So if anyone is interested in either donating, which I would match.
People can always donate early as well.
100%.
So we'll put that information together too.
Or showing up to the event, that would be great. We will definitely be getting more information. We're probably going to send 25,000 postcards on that as well.
Yeah. So it's twofold. You can donate, as I mentioned, and donate monetarily, or at the event when we do have the date set, it's bringing food, right? And that's what they're looking for. It's a doggy food bowl, or not doggy. Sorry, it's a pet food bowl event. So there's many pets that are homeowners, or not homeowners, just pet owners. Sorry, that sometimes can't afford to feed their animals, which is obviously sad. So we like to volunteer.
Yeah, my family and I went maybe a month ago. They don't really do it in the dead of winter, so maybe a month and a half ago, and it was in Teterboro. Right. There's an animal shelter in Teterboro, New Jersey, and we gave out food. They had bird food, cat food, dog food, and it was really cool. The cars would pull up, you would get their information, how many animals they had, and you would provide the food for them. You'd register them. So it's very organized, and 100% of those proceeds go back to the cause itself, which I think is very important. As I've given back to different charitable organizations, I always look to see what percent of the donation actually goes to the cause. Yeah. So there's everyone's volunteer on the Bergen County SPCA, so there's no paid employees.
Well, and if you're giving pet food, I'm pretty sure it's going to go to the pets.
Yeah. Well, you could also donate money to the SPCA, which then they would purchase the food on their behalf. Yeah. But 100% of that proceeds would go towards the food.
That's fantastic. So we'll get some more information on that. We'll put it on our on the description, and obviously we'll have it on our social media pages as well. that's pretty much it for today. I know, we have kind of a shorter podcast today, busy day. Did you have anything else you want to add?
No. The snow threw us off. My kids are home from school.
Yeah.
So yeah, we just wanted to. So I would definitely say to recap, the perseverance within the agents is crucial with the markets for the general public. It's very specific to not only states but also towns within those states, and honestly, sometimes the sections within those towns.
Mm-hmm.
Furthermore, the price points, like I said, as the higher price points go up, sometimes in our area would be north of 2 million, 3 million for sure. The buyer volume is so low right now that we're starting to see those prices get hit a little bit, and the days of market just by nature are always higher there anyway. When you're talking $1 million to $2 million, it's still relatively strong, again, depending on township, depending on how that home is priced. But below $1 million, especially like I said before, below $800,000, $700,000, extremely hot, multiple bid situations. And that's kind of what we'll talk about to help the agents as well during the seminar is what's my strategy going in if there's 8-10 offers? How do I figure out a price to give my client a fair opportunity to secure the home if they really want the home? I don't want to pay too much, right? But I don't want to have no chance. So what do I do?
It's super important for both parties to know the strategies, because the ultimate goal for the buyer is to buy a home. That's why they're looking, and the agent wants to help with that process. So, when you're meeting a client, being able to, explain the market to them instead of them just thinking that, the rates are so high, I have to, I'm going to look at a $500,000 house and I'm going to offer $20,000 less. It's not, unfortunately, not happening yet. So that's kind of why we had this conversation, is to dive a little bit deeper, and then understanding it's hyper local. You got to know in this particular market if it's hot, in this market might not be as hot.
Absolutely. And if anyone has any questions with the market, especially in New York, New Jersey, which we know very well, if it's any other market in the United States, we are connected with top agents in nearly every state. So we're happy to make an introduction and have you get that information from them. But New York, New Jersey, we got covered. We'll definitely provide that update.
And do not forget to subscribe. That's super important. It helps the page out. And then you can find us on Instagram at Team Braconi and S Braconi. And I'm at Bass Real Estate. I don't think we had that yet, but we'll get mine out there too. That is it. Thanks for joining this live, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Bye, guys.